Hi, welcome. I'm Beth. This is Spiral Dynamics Integral Live. We are so excited because today we have Tom Habib, one of the organizers of the Future Human Conference or event, depending on how you like to name it, which is in May 16th to 19th in Denver, Colorado, USA, planet Earth. So Tom is a clinical psychologist in San Juan, California. Actually, yeah, in the southern part of California. And he is a specialist in couples therapy. So Tom is going to be talking to us about this event, Future Human. And then he's going to also do an embodied exercise that we can all participate in. And then we're actually going to be opening it up to have all the participants share what they believe the future human is. Are we going to be cyborgs? Are we going to be connected to the matrix? What is it going to be like? Are we going to be peaceful? Will we lay down our arms and all hold hands? So we're going to have that as an open conversation. And so that will be coming up after Tom's introduction of the event and the embodied exercise. So I'm going to turn it over to Tom. Welcome, Tom Habib.
Good morning, everyone, or afternoon, whatever it may be for you. It's interesting hearing everyone's stories and seeing people. I've only seen your names online or people that have donated money, seed money to get Icon going, which we really appreciate. So it's fun to attach faces to the names I've seen repeatedly. But I thought I'd start with sharing my own evolution since everyone else did. Is, as Beth said, I've been a clinical psychologist almost for 40 years now, and I've been working with couples all through it. I did my dissertation on marital satisfaction, and I'll never forget, I was in my growth experience. I was in therapy as part of my training, and the psychologist working with me said, "Tom, do you think you're a little afraid of marriage?" And I started crying profusely because I never connected the dots that I was trying to master something intellectually that I held emotionally, and it hit me like a brick. But it still was a good path to travel. And through the years, I was doing things in couples therapy that I couldn't fit on either the theoretical model of psychoanalytic, or I had systemic training in family systems theory, but nothing quite fit. I was operating in the lower right in terms of structuring relationships, moving up to the upper left, digging into the antecedents of whatever was manifesting in the intimate relationship. And then just the culture of the relationship in lower left. So when I first was exposed, like all of you, it was the spiral dynamics that showed me the developmental end of it. And then integral theory, I finally had a theory that could hold the complexity that I was actually doing on the ground. So that's how I got into it. And I'll never forget, I was at the Evolutionary of Psychotherapy conference, and someone said, start filling in the quadrants in terms of what you're doing on the ground in integral. And I was doing it during a talk going, oh my God, I finally see it. So we love sharing those stories of how did we get involved in all of this in consciousness studies, which I think is a better umbrella for all of it, because we seem to all love that. And because of our exposure to spiral, we love projecting what the future human is going to look like. And in many ways, we're already doing it. You are a group of energetic people that already share in this we space, and you can feel the resonance, and hopefully you can feel me opening in it right now. You can feel the resonance that wants to commune between all of us. And that's going to be one of the themes of the future human is we tasked all of the speakers. We don't just want a description of the future human. We want to know what you're doing on the ground as practices. And we want experiential events going on so that the people at the conference can feel it. Because we know once people have that, what Integral calls the state experience, that you know there's something energetic that's emerging in this moment. And I love the conferences because you run into so many other energetic people. And those moments are transformative for all of us. So I think I've been in this about 17 years now, and I could think of countless examples of running into people and having those experiences. If I can digress for a second, one of them happened in Hungary in 2016. And you can read about this. I'll put the link in in the chat in a moment on academia.edu because I actually wrote about it. But it was one of these breakout exercises that was one-on-one. And we got together. I could feel she was energetic as all get out. And she said, "I'm pregnant." And being the father of two girls that at that point were probably late teens, early 20s, and having gone through all that developmental history with them, all I said was, "Oh my God." Because what was flashing before me was all the love and the beauty that was going to unfold for a new mother that was expecting. And of course, she was energized by that primitive imperative to reproduce and to protect the young child and to bring forth a new life. And we're swimming in this energy. And the next two words was, or three words, "What was that?" And we didn't have the language to carry the gravity of what was unfolding in that moment. And she came up after the break, after that series, that talk, and we just connected and trying to understand it. And I didn't quite understand it either. I just know things were going to change. And it really changed the direction of my research. That's when I started to get involved with highly sensitive people. How many of you heard of the highly sensitive person? Yeah, some of you I know, and I know you are. You can go on that same site, I'll post in a moment, academia.edu, and get an HSP questionnaire that's self-scoring. And this one's a good one because it breaks it all down into, do you hold it in your body? How negative is your affect? Are you investing it in aesthetics, in beauty? Because that's where the energy wants to go. But anyways, it got me involved in HSP, and then I did a paper on HSP looking at our integral folks have a higher level of HSP? No. Are they better adjusted? Yes. On one indice, they were better adjusted in self-acceptance. So that's how I began. And that's where my focus is until I took on this incredible task of trying to build a conference in North America that I wanted to tell you about briefly, and then I'll open it up to questions. So we wanted a conference that was embodied, and that lined up beautiful with Ilea and Bet and Kim Harfram and the other principals in the organization, because they were doing an embodiment conference. And our conferences were going to conflict within a week, and both in the Boulder areas. And I was having a panic attack going, "Oh my God, we can't both do a conference that well." So my red kicked in and protective territoriality. And thank God Lynn Fuentes, who put on the What's the Future conference. How many of you were there a year ago? Yeah, that was fun. In Sedona, even though it was a bear to get there. And Lynn Fuentes goes, "I see an opportunity to network and work together." And so sure enough, I showed up one of the integral pods, Bet and Kim were running, and that set us off. And just for me to digress for a second on that, we love the aspirational language of actually reaching yellow. And putting together these two conferences, it's amazing how each stage shows up. And the question is, can the vision stay front and center while we work through all the sticky stuff of, orange needs like financial and basic trust needs and basic things like the blue structure of how do you do this? And can you keep the aspirational goal of coming together? Because one of the things we said is if not us, then who? We like to talk this game, but can you actually do it? Can you hold the vision? Because we're not always at an integral level. Is anybody surprised by that? Yeah, we're not. Um, Even on the intimacy level, I mentioned I work with couples. To actually get deep presencing, we are holding that space together. Intimacy, by the way, is the hardest place to do it. Everything comes online. And I'll never forget when my wife said to me, Tom, to do this with you, I need to compartmentalize your lower self. I fell off my chair going, oh my God, that is a brilliant insight. And of course you have to, it's not like we're going to always be at an integral level. We need those other levels. But the question is how nimble and fluid can you be in at any moment? Can you really open up the space at that higher level and bring people where they want to go? Can you feel the hunger of that? We just yearn for it. And that's why we need these conferences. Because we live alone so much, with people that have a hard time feeding our energetic self, that I find these conferences necessary to be among a bunch of people to get the renewal in order that we can go back and function in the real world or in the more common world. So that's part of our motivation in doing this. And I inherited this. I never expected to do this, but the first iteration, mainly because the Mean Green took over and there wasn't sufficient leadership. And Bet and Kim joke about, because from the word go, I always said, I'm going to impose orange discipline, financial discipline upon this because I want it sustainable. And one of the things we did, to digress, is we're holding it at the NBC Suites in Denver. How many of you stayed at NBC Suites? Yeah. The beauty of it is it's relatively inexpensive. It's $139 a night, and it includes breakfast and a happy hour in the evening. I think that's quite a deal. And that's holding down a significant cost for the younger folks so that they can show up and not, max their credit cards out. Opposed to, in Sedona, I think it was $420 a night for a crappy room. Am I right, Bet? Do you remember the cost?
There was three girls in my room. We were all just like bunking like high school or whatever college students. It was ridiculous. And the room smelled like mold. I was like, what am I paying for? Yeah, it was so expensive.
Yeah, that was one of the problems. So I absolutely insist that some of that orange discipline, that it had to be workable. And there were other things I threw into the mix too. And then I threw a plea out to the integral and spiral community going, I need help. I can't do this myself. And I'll never forget, Paul Block was one of the first people who joined with me. And my first impression of Paul was he was a little bit manicky, but I knew he knew his stuff. And as I got to know Paul, he spent 3 years as a Zen monk in Japan. And what tradition he tell me? Soto Zen monk, Soto. Some of you might know exactly what lineage that is. But he's a tech genius too, and a creative. And I'll never forget, he came off rather manic, but I knew he knew his stuff. And essentially, he was saying, "Tom, you really need me." And I was like, "Mm." And I realized, oh my God, I do need him really bad because I'm not a digital native, as you can tell. And oh my God. So when he came on, I was just blessed. And then we formed with the leader, and a number of other people stepped up. San Diego Integral folks, people stepped up and were off and running. But what we wanted was we wanted a mix of the new, and that meant we're going to have artificial intelligence. We're going to have psychedelics. We wanted new speakers, some of the up and coming voices to show up. We didn't want to just be preaching to the choir. So one of the people we're going to have is Chris Beisch. Do any of you know him? He wrote the book, The Mind of God, LSD and the Mind of God. Any hands? No? So Chris Beisch is a professor of philosophy and religion at, God, I should look this up, some university or a college in Iowa. And he did over 70 high-dose LSD trips. And he recorded it with his goal of, what can I read into these psychedelic experiences that tell me about the future development of the human? How perfect is this guy? And here is one of the tidbits, if you read the book, that I just love. During one of these trips, he said that when we have a very subtle awareness or intuition or idea, it's really an intelligence, a conscious intelligence in the universe helping us grow. And the reason they're helping us grow is they want us to participate at a higher level. So it has a very Hindu overtone. And he's well aware this could be spiritual inflation induced by a major dose of LSD. But at the possible cost, and I have no doubt, when you get into the academic world, the orange, rigid world of academics, they like to say, like Carl Sagan, extraordinary claims require extraordinary proof. Well, how do you prove that? How do you prove there's actually an intelligent, energetic presence in the universe playing with our evolutionary development? So that's some of the limitations of orange that we're well aware of. It still has its role in Integral. I'm involved in the Integral Consortium of Integral Scholars, and we're trying to impose that orange discipline. Impose is a bad word. I just used it so many times. We're trying to true up what we can true up in Integral. I was happy to hear, who said that? It was Don. Said that he's going to look for all the research and literature in the Gradian field to try to true up spiral, because it needs it. It really does need it. There isn't psychology, to digress again. Test construction is a science, and it needs to be developed along those lines if we're going to get academic support. And so the only people I'm aware of doing that, well, I'm probably missing a few, but Cook Reuter is always obviously doing it with maps, inheriting the, oh, I'm gonna lose her name, Virginia. Can anyone pull her name?
Virginia Satir?
Nope.
Nope.
Well, that's a good name, Virginia Satir. I love Virginia Satir. No, she's more.
Jane Levenger.
Yes, thank you, Earl. Lovinger tradition. And then on the other more recent side is Stages with O'Fallon and Barta. They're doing some preliminary research, but the whole goal is to empirically true up, because it does offer a lot. It trues up our models so that it's just not lost in metaphysical speculation in terms of doing that. So a little bit about the conference. It's going to be over 3 days. We're trying to not make it too ambitious, because the gorilla we've taken on, we want to make sure this actually happens. If you're going to go, please sign up sooner than later. One, you'll get the early bird special, because when we hit a certain number, the fee is going to go up, because it's got to hit a certain number. But because to get you an idea of it, we're committed to 34,000 expenses, and it's my credit card. This thing is going to do it. But if it doesn't kind of reach pretty damn close to that level by March 13th, I'm sorry, 16th, then we're going to back out of it, because the option is just, the exposure is just enormous. As I said, the content is going to have a lot of air. Some of my frustration with the presentation in Sedona is everything was backed up one after another. And that was a bear, because there was no room for a hiccup more on the administrative end. And some of you might remember I did MC that conference. And I'll never forget Bensei the night before, Bensei Gante from IEC. My major influences were Bensei and Jeff Saltzman. I just loved how they approached the integral community, both of them. Bensei, because he knew how to construct a conference, and he always knew, the Europeans always knew the privilege the state experience over what Bensei calls talk. And then Jeff Saltzman, just because of the person he is, I just love his humbleness. He always told me that I'm an on-ramp for new people trying to get into Spiral and Integral. And I just love that energy. Where was I going with that? Oh yeah, we put a lot of air in the conference, because there's 15 minutes between every presentation, because we know there's countless unknown things that are going to happen between all of you on the ground. You're going to develop connections. You're going to be jotting down insights. We can't possibly know what we're changing in the evolutionary process, what we're bringing forth, what we're energizing. None of us know. But the more we do this, the more we enter this space. Do you feel me pulling you into the space? Yeah, that's what I love about energetic people. You're so easy to pull in. And just one more, I can't promise, I'll probably do another digression. With these HSP people, I'm working with a woman that she has a generalized anxiety disorder, but she's HSP is all get out. And that's a talk I'm going to do to psychologists, is differential diagnosis between HSP and generalized anxiety and panic attacks. Because I'm finding, and I don't have the data on this, I need to run this study. I suspect 40% of people that have either one of those diagnoses are HSP and nobody ever saw it. It's a shame, and then we drug them. I mean, it's incredible. We need to find those kids when they're young. Here's another digression. I've got a woman that she's HSP, all get out. She said I could tell you this. She's an ER physician. And her daughter is HSP, is all get out at 7. So mom started presencing, and that'll be an exercise we're going to do in a moment. Started presencing with her, holding both sides of her face. Initially, the daughter is, and mom would open this space. She was so good at it, which she used in the ER, which was amazing. And she would open this space with her daughter, and her daughter would go, Mom, this is weird. What are you doing? But she persisted. Then the daughter started saying, Mom, can we do that again? And then about 1.5 years later, the daughter went up to Dad, held his face. Dad, can you feel me? The dad was blown away by it. And he was aware of presencing to some degree. Do you know what this girl is going to look like by the time she reaches our age? These are the future humans. She is going to have an energetical level that's going to put us all to shame. So that's part of my interest of why at Sedona, my talk was titled, Are HSPs aware of the possible evolutionary role they're playing, and are they ready? And the answer is no and no on both of them. But you can see why I think they're critical, because it could be an evolutionary emergence that's going to save all our butt. It's almost like they're cheating on the state experience. Most of us have to work our ass off to quiet everything in order to do the state. These people are feeling so much of it, they get flooded. It's that flooding that we recognize in the upper right and the upper left that prevents presence. Most of us have to work and clean up everything that emerges so that we can be present. These people still have a huge task, but my God, when they do it, I was going to tell you, one of my clients with an anxiety, she loves opening the space on her own to the point where she's distracting the hell out of me and I can't think. And she giggles. She loves doing it to her shrink. So that's some of the fun of it. So before we do the exercise, can we open it up for questions about the conference? Is there anything you want to know?
Is there an option for a 1 day or is it a full 3-day thing?
Was that you, Josh, that asked that question through online or something previously?
Yeah. Yes.
Ah, good to see you, Josh. I don't know yet. My guesstimate would be yes. But that's something we haven't even thought about yet. But my guesstimate would be yes, there would be a 1-day option. I can't see why not up front, but I've obviously got to talk to Paul, and Paul has more of that orange market stuff to look at. So that's the best answer I can get you.
Tom, I'm sorry, I was offline. Could you restate the dates?
May 16th to the 19th.
Thank you.
And it will be in Denver. We picked an international airport, so our European friends that were such a hassle coming in, and everyone else we could get there.
So there's a question on, will it be hybrid? And we are planning a hybrid portion, right, Tom? Are we?
Yeah, but we're not supposed to announce that yet.
Okay, it's not announced.
How do we sign up? I'm not on Facebook, and I understand your initial advertising has been on Facebook, so I haven't seen it.
That could you put in the chat right away?
Yeah.
And Tom, are you going to have concurrent sessions like IEC?
Yeah. Yes.
Yeah. Okay.
I'm hesitating because my partner had a meltdown yesterday with the overwhelming feeling Any of you can help us administratively, that would really help. Because, I mean, the hours we're putting in is just extraordinary at this point. But yes, I think we're gonna have 4 concurrent sessions. It's not even quite as big as WTF. I think they had 7 running, and certainly not as big as IEC. But again, I'm trying to tame this monster to get into it, because the first iteration of this, when I did crunch the numbers, they were on board for over $300,000 guaranteed money. And I was like, are you kidding me? Because it required like 170 people to sign. And What's the Future had 140, Lynn Fuentes told me. And I just walked away from that. There was no way we're gonna take that financial risk. Remember, my goal is to get extra money, so the next iteration of this, it doesn't have to be a mom and pop operation. We can do something like Bensei does. When they're building that conference, 9 months ahead, they're hiring administrative support just to get all the nuts and bolts done. Other thoughts, questions?
So Tom has his hand up.
I just forgot my question. Give me a moment. Oh, shoot. Go to someone else and I'll remember it in a moment.
Is it gonna start on Thursday night, or is Thursday just sort of a registration period? And
No.
how many participants are you expecting in total?
Oh, God, if I knew that one, I'd sleep better at night. How many are we expecting? We're hoping to at least do what WTF did, 140. Because, that would break us above even, which is great. And it's hard to know. We can't get over, I think, 375, because the hotel I picked, it had to be somebody that wasn't going to, like, just to give you an idea, and it taps into what we want to evolve in. This ICON means Integral Conference of North America. We're going to evolve into the Integral Congress of North America. And this is our association with ILEAR too, is we want to be a clearinghouse for everything integral and start sharing the know-how. Like when I call these hotels, I've never done this before. I'm trying to learn, okay, what do I have to guarantee? Like one of the things you have to guarantee, if you reach a certain level, like this level is 16,100 in food expenses to get free conference rooms. Otherwise, the conference rooms cost us an additional 5,000 if I'm short. So, for example, if we only reach 11,000 expenditures of food, we've got to put forward 5,000. But all these damn dynamics you got to learn about. We want to be able to share this with other people, the know-how, the orange knowledge of how you do this. Because think of this, we all aspire for the integral level, and we function in these tribal little pockets. ILEAR, San Diego Integral, Integral Life, the Europeans, the Germans. Well, the other thing I wanted to tell you about is Integralis Forum in Germany. The Germans have a real well-organized integral community. Anyone's surprised at that? And we may do a dual simulcast if we can get Ken Wilber to come to the conference. Although the scuttlebutt is he's too sick even to show up, but we still might try to get him online to present. But we're not giving up on that one. And if we do, we're going to simulcast it with the Germans who are doing their conference at the same time.
Oh, wow. So Is
So-
there going to be a presentation on Thursday night or is that just
Oh, yeah,
registration?
you asked me that, Trudy. Yes. Yes. Like last time, because we're using that format, try not to reinvent everything. Yes, Thursday there'll be a presentation. Earlier Thursday, we'll have all the presenters there to check out all the equipment, make sure there's no snafus. That's a bear doing, getting that going.
So
So
Tom,
Tom, we have
my
two
other-
hands, and then I would love to do the embodied practice, and then I want to open it up to future human, everyone sharing their thoughts on that.
My
So
other
did you
que-
remember your question, Tom?
yeah, my other quick question was, I've already filled out the application to present. I assume whatever video I put on now, I could redo later. Is that correct?
I'm sorry, the video was for what, Tom?
On the application, if you want to present, you have to do a 2-minute introductory, what apparently would be posted for what your presentation is going to be. And I'm asking if I do something this weekend, I can always update it, right?
Yeah, I'm not on the speaker committee, so that's why I'm a little ignorant. You know more than I do on that piece.
Okay, I'll
Yeah.
just go ahead and do something and assume I can improve it later.
I think you can, Tom.
Paul?
Tom, have you contacted anybody or talked to anybody in the science fiction or well, I'll just stick with science fiction, in the science fiction conference world? I was involved in that for a number of years, and you've talked a lot about learning those orange disciplines. These people have been doing this for decades. And I'm sure there's just a wealth of information on how to gain that insight.
You know, what a great idea. I didn't even think about that, even though I like science fiction too, especially the non-dystopian science fiction. Uh, in terms of what it's, I love that idea. I'm wondering, Paul, if you'd be willing to reach out and put forth some stuff. I could give you some information.
I haven't been in that world for probably 20 years, really. So um, I just know that there's, and I've observed it from the outside. I just know that there are models of how to do a convention that have 50 people show up, and there are models that show how to do a convention with 20,000 people showing up. I mean, it's like pick your size, and I'm sure there's just tons of ways of finding out ways of who the organizers are and who the worker bees are.
What a great idea. You know, and that reminds me, Paul, of one of the goals we have is trying to get people that are more proto-integral. They're ready for consciousness development because we do too much preaching to the choir. So we're de-emphasizing the geek level of integral. There'll be enough of it. Layman's gone. Layman can get it to the major geek levels. I always describe him as one of the top synthetic thinkers out there in the integral community. So we're inviting enough so that there'll be that presentation, but we want people in order for the bodhisattva vow of the health of the spiral. We want people that are ready for this, but that the integral knowledge doesn't become such a barrier. So I forget who asked, maybe Trudy, is there going to be any pre-integral stuff? It will start on Thursday night, but in South Africa, her name is, I can't pull it. She's in your community, right? Rika. Like Rika wants to do a pre-conference training conference, and we may have that as
You
part of it.
definitely should.
Yeah. it sounds like a great idea to me. Everything's logistics and cost though is we can pull off, but I really love Riker, and if we can pull it off, we're going to. She just contacted me yesterday on this.
Their
Tom?
new book is out.
Her new book? Did anyone hear that?
Yeah, she said there's a new book out. So Tom, just in the interest of time, could we do this? Like, I'm so excited about this embodied exercise.
Okay.
All right.
One quick thing. Tom, my very best friend from high school worked for Nevada Department of Tourism in charge of Las Vegas. And she does this, she's retired now. I'll ask her if she's interested in getting involved because she even taught how to organize conferences and group things. So I'll ask if she's interested in doing this.
If she has the time, we need that person now.
Okay,
Because
I'll do it.
the complexity is just going through the roof of what needs to be done. So that'd be dynamite. I love how people emerge in the community when you need them. See, it wants to emerge. So let's
I'll
do
try. Sorry.
Okay, let me get this computer ready. So take a deep breath. Okay. So try to look at my eyes. Soften your own gaze. Try to get your breathing in rhythm with me. Okay. Now bring your attention to the stillness of it all. Keep it nice and still. Good. Stay here. Soften everything. So in your vision, as you look directly at me, be aware of your peripheral vision to your right and left. As you look at me, bring both sides of the periphery in. Keep the stillness. Keep the soft focus. Hold the vision, both sides. Now add the top and the bottom of your vision. Hold that in with both sides and the stillness as we keep eye contact. Now feel into that deeper. We're getting into the deeply subtle. Now be aware of the energy of the other 25 plus people on this call. Feel into the field of everybody with us. Okay, hold it. Try to feel them. Okay. Now stay here and open your eyes. Stay here. Don't lose it. You still looking at me? Now hold this feeling and find the faces that are energetic on this call right now. And softly look at them. Feel the energy they're pouring into this space, making available to each of us. Feel the energy just say, it just wants to say, I love you. It's always here, always available. Even in people that can't presence, there's moments they want to share that. This is what makes it sustainable. This is going to be the future human. Energetic people sharing it. In most places we go, it's going to be an energetic encounter. They're probably going to have places, no energetic encounters. We need to think linear because it's going to be so distracting as we do it. So a little feedback. Some of you closed your eyes. Could you go from looking at me to looking at each other and hold the energy?
Yeah.
Any thoughts?
So, Tom, thank you so much. I would love to hear, maybe now that we're going on the same wavelength, perhaps, or resonating at the same wavelength, can we hear what people think
Please.
the future human is? And so we have about 20 people. I don't want to go all Toastmasters on everyone, but like maybe 3 minutes, people can share their ideas on future human. Up to 3 minutes. And just raise your hand to queue up. All right. So, Tom, you have your hand up. So go ahead and share future human, 3 minutes or less. And are you on mute?
I think there is a paradox in the term future human because future humans are already here. And I would evoke Jean Gebser's ever-present origin, that our ancestors and our future generations are here now in ever-present origin. And on another level, we have a long way to go. And there are billions of humans on this planet. But ever-present origin is here, and so are future humans. And I think that's enough for me to say.
Nice, Tom. Thank you. Okay, so next up is Karen.
Okay, I've set my timer for 3 minutes here. Gosh, this is my passion. What's coming next? I'm Tom. Some of the people here know me. I'm a cultural historian by training. I've been meditating on my spiritual path for 40 years, about the same amount of time I've been reading Ken Wilber. So my intellectual understanding of what Tom has been presenting here has evolved all along. And I'm an INFJ on the Myers-Briggs inventory. My intuition is constantly feeling into the future. And I'm going to be mental here. Jim Rutt of Game B likes to say, if you only take one trajectory, and I'm going to interpolate through history, you can't make any robust conclusions. But if you have a bundle of trajectories and they all go in more or less the same place, you can make some robust predictions. I intuit. I mean, this is what I do. So what Tom was doing was like I didn't even consciously know I was operating on these levels until well into middle age. But I project forward as a cultural historian, as a spiritual practitioner. I see a glorious future. And I've got spreadsheets. I can present them, yada, yada. But folks, we are going, the next phase, okay, I'm not coherent because I haven't put this together. We're going through one of those major transitional periods. Phase changes, punctuated equilibrium. In human cultures, the next new emergent level of complexity comes online through a transition period of great turbulence. In human societies, we call them dark ages. Folks, we are in a major apocalypse now. We've got all four horsemen, war, death, famine, plague. But after the apocalypse comes a new heaven and a new earth. And this is what Ken Wilber is talking about. New forms of spirituality, new forms of being with each other, these energetic fields that Tom's talking about. I project my trajectory forward intuitively and with my scholar's knowledge of big history, and I see a glorious future. We are going to become transhuman. This is big, but it's already started. I mean, the genie's out of the bottle. What we're doing in this community is, I mean, Ken Wilber is the prophet here, consciously trying to midwife the next new order of emergence on this planet. And folks, once we get through this period of great turbulence, it's going to be beautiful. And let's start telling, this is my passion, 24 seconds. Let's start telling some beautiful stories about our potential future. Let's create, this is my future for a few years down the line, Tom, incubators where we can incubate creative projects that reach everybody, mass market appeal, tell some beautiful stories about our collective future. We can do this. This is what we're here to do. Over and out. My timer's about to go
Amazing.
off.
Karen, amazing. Toastmasters award applause. All right, I'm going to go next, and then Ellen, please queue up, everyone. Raise your hand. Blue order around here. All right. So I am well known as the most optimistic person alive. Everyone tries to take me down a notch, but I am so excited to talk about being human in the age of AI. And I love tools. I'm all about the tools. I take tools and I use them for my purpose as the human. And I balance my right brain, left brain, all my chakras. And I feel like what we can do as future human is just collaborating. So you think of the long tail of all of the things, and you could just pick medical. There's people with all these weird medical issues. If they can get into a community, each of them doing experiments, saying, "Oh, I tried vitamin C. I got some extra sunset. I did this weird handstand on one elbow, and that cured it." I don't know. But these collaborative communities where people are interested and passionate about whatever issue or art, it doesn't always have to be a problem, but they're working together in a way that we've never been able to do across the entire globe, using the tools that we have and using AI to help data mine the analysis. There's just infinite numbers of things. And I'm going to throw out one example. There's this condition called lean mass hyperresponders, which is a keto person who has hugely high LDL cholesterol. It's this bizarre phenomenon, and now they're actually crowdsourcing funding to do data analysis on their bodies to see, are they actually going to have a heart attack? And I mean, the community is really getting the data, finding out. They did this funny study where this one guy who's a lean mass hyperresponder did a statin versus Oreo cookies. He had Oreo cookies for 2 weeks, his LDL dropped. Then he went on a statin, his LDL didn't drop as much. There's just so many fun things. And if we question the assumptions that we've always had, and we use data and get together using all the orange and all the levels of the stack, we can really figure out some interesting things. So Future Human, it's all about collaboration for me. All right, Ellen, you're next. Ellen, you're on mute and we can't see you either. All right, Ellen. All right,
Elena.
going once, going twice.
Is it
Right, there you
Ellen
are.
or Elena?
Oh my goodness, I'm so sorry, Elena.
Okay, because I didn't know that was me. Yeah, I think I was drawn to this Future Human on Facebook, that because I have a New Year resolution, but I really call it more of intention, that I wanted to be more human this year and less everything else. And so my focus is to learn what it is to be human and embrace that humanness that I'm learning how to be. So that's why I was drawn to the Future Human topic. But I hear a lot about the in this description that Tom talking about the conference about energetic human, and I'm not sure what's the difference between energetic human and human in general. So I just really have a question than anything else.
Yeah, I think for sake of time, that's probably going to just be hanging in the atmosphere, Elena, sorry. I think human is human with the energies, right, Tom? You can nod your head. It's just human, energetic, psychological. Does that help, Elena?
I'm going to pull out for Elena that might be useful. David Hawking's Map of Consciousness might be interesting for you. I'll look it up and put it to you in chat.
Okay, so is the conference geared toward someone who has a background in specific area, or is it open to all humans who don't have any background?
All humans.
Yeah, that's.
And how is and if I'm coming from a street, which there are plenty of people in Denver who live on the street, because because I'm curious about the topic, would I be able to speak that language that everybody else speak in terms of energetic human and what's the term, HSPs, HSPs, and all these other things? Or is this specifically geared toward a specific group of people that speak the same language and therefore able to connect? And if I don't, I can't, I have to learn a specific vocabulary in order to be able to participate in this conference? Or do I need to read some books prior signing up?
Tom? Did you? So, Elena, I'm just going to answer for him. There you go, Tom. Are you here?
I am. My computer just died all of a sudden. I don't know why. What was the question? Is it for other people coming in off the
Yeah. So my question is,
the question is, do you need to have
Right, right, because the future human is very broad topic. It's a considers everybody who lives on in this planet, right? 8 billions of us. But I'm hearing a lot about specific terms like energetic human, highly sensitive person, spiral dynamic topics, and this comes. So my question is the conference, the people need to have a specific background to this conference, or is this a lay term kind of conference to available to any human basically who cares about their future?
Yeah, Elena, that was utmost in our consideration up front. That's the idea of not preaching to the choir, is we wanted to pull people all in who maybe never had the experience. And then we're trusting that, the state experience is the feeling of it. And once they have the feeling, an energetic experience, we know they're going to go, what was that? And that's what's psychoactive in these communities. That's what pushes people along to learn more. So yeah, you're hearing a lot of terms, even though we're trying to downplay it a little bit, because we want that threshold to appeal to other people than just the geeks. We want them to show up and do that. There was a woman who volunteered at WTF, and she brought her, I estimate, 12-year-old daughter with her. And I could feel the impact it had upon her after one day, because she gave me that little girl look of awe going, and I would just love to see the impact on her through time. But yes, Elena, that was one of the number one goals, is getting outside the geek community and expanding integral to the other people.
Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you, Elena. All right, Steve, we're going to probably just drop it down to 2 minutes because we're going to run out of time. I really want to hear from
Yeah, so I might be a little bit contrarian in as much as I kind of think humans, in some sense, the same in all times. I think what changes are the circumstances and the culture. So I think really what's being birthed is a new culture or a new worldview. And in that sense, for me, the question is, what worldview will the humans find themselves in when we come out the other side of this liminal transition? And I think that's really what determines it. So I don't know. It's just maybe just another way of phrasing the question, but that's my way of looking at it. And I'm interested in what's happening in the so-called metamodern spaces online with the people who are trying to feel into that kind of what's the worldview, what's the culture, what's the metaphysics on the other side. So anyway, that's my 2 seconds worth. Thanks.
Thanks, Steve. Good to see you. All right, Nish.
Okay, hi, thank you. So I'm quite optimistic like Bet and Karen. So 2 minutes, I'm going to try to just give 1 or 2 sentences of how I would envision the future human in each of the 4 quadrants, because I think we have to see the future human as a holon that's evolving across all 4 quadrants, not just as individuals. So here we go. Upper left, increased emotional intelligence, increased self-awareness, enhanced cognitive abilities, which we can develop through practices like meditation and mindfulness. Upper right, physical enhancements through improvements in our genetic engineering, for example, increased longevity, improved health, dealing with genetic diseases. Lower left, a greater emphasis in our societies on empathy, compassion, interconnection. So we create societies that are more inclusive, diverse, greater equality, more harmonious social structures. And lower right, advances in technology that can create more efficient and sustainable systems, and maybe the rise of global governances that can deal with some of the major issues that we're facing now: climate change, poverty, inequality. So that's a very quick 2-minute summary of how I would envision, ideally, optimistically, how a human holon could evolve into the future.
1 minute and 35 seconds. Nish just gave the outline for his next book. Thanks, Nish. Don, you're up.
I think the future human is collective, and we are all, my observation is we are all getting more collective all the time. And because I'm a technology guy, I see that part of it as well, but there's other parts. And a cautionary note is I'm as aspirational as anyone. I'm as utopian in my aspirations as anyone. But you get more collective, you know, the shadow doesn't go away. There's you know, we just try to get a little further up the spiral, and more truth, more good, more beauty. But you know, I don't think there's a utopian end state. We just hopefully emerge and get better as a collective.
Thank you so much, Don. And next up is Josh.
Yeah, so when the assignment was mentioned earlier in the meeting, the first thing that came to my mind was the phrase return to nature. And then the second phrase was or return to sender. So that's my new slogan now, return to nature or return to sender. But obviously you know, those are just pithy simplicities. I don't think people need to go back to caves. And I don't think necessarily the human race is going to be extinct. I think it's a possibility. I think it's more, it may be good for us to reconnect with the natural world and to also remind ourselves that as great as technologies can be, they're all dependent on natural resources. And we might need to start thinking about, instead of infinite expansion, that there are limits, and limits don't have to be limiting. There's actually a concept of a golden bridle where limitations, like in poetry, can actually make a lot better creativity. So I just think that's an important piece.
Thank you so much, Josh. And next up is Lorraine.
Sorry about that. Yeah, you know, everyone's bringing up some really interesting notions and ideas. I guess my thought was to go more fundamental. The idea of the future human for me is to learn to be more fully human. I mean, that's really what's behind the whole presencing thing, is to be with ourselves where we are now. And I think one of the blind spots of Integral has been this transcend and include. It's always higher, 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 higher. Mind, 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 mind. And you know, I've worked with trauma patients, and there's an amazing literature coming out of the trauma work where obviously you descend into the body. We've all been traumatized. The trauma is built into the culture. It's a very judgmental, materialistic culture, and we all have to find ways to accommodate it. But it damages us. It damages our relationships because the trust goes away. We're competing with one another. We're still in survival mode. And I think this notion of connection, even we space, comes from redoing the whole basic trust. And I think there are ways of not just carrying our shadows with us to every level. There's something fundamentally wrong about that idea to me. I think we need to face our shadows. I think we need to dive deep within ourselves in a safe way and improve how we truly connect with one another and how we can find a sense of safety with one another that will help relax all of these survival behaviors that actually separate us. So I think the future human will be the more fully human in, you know, going forward. That's my hope.
Lorraine, that was amazing. Marjorie.
Hi. So I'm taking my cue from Barbara Marx Hubbard's work, and she envisioned all of this back in the 1945 and beyond, and really took it all the way through. And her vision was that it was a totally new species. that Homo sapiens sapiens would be extinct, and that there would be a new species coming forward in terms of consciousness, and that what we're going through right now is the death of the species Homo sapiens. And so to honor that and to actually go through the death, to go through the process of dying, death and dying. And also she talked about this new species, we're like wet-winged butterflies. You know, that when we emerge as a new species, we're brand new. And we don't know where we're going, what we're doing. So it's not like she had a vision of what this new future human species was going to be per se, but she was in the process of evolving it, or being involved in the evolution of it. And then also for me, you know, she talked about marrying your local selves, and she talked about bringing in the absence as well as the presence, which to me, I took that to mean the shadow as well as the light, that we love our shadow as we love our light. And that when you, in terms of integral, the transcend and include is not just transcend and include, is transform. So what is included is the transformed past, or the transformed shadow that is included in the next iteration. And then in terms of non-dual consciousness, the past, present, and future exist in this moment. So someone else on the call was talking about the future human is already here. So I kind of, you know, bring in the paradox of trying to hold all of that, all of those kinds of perspectives on it as we go through this. Thank you.
I'm so glad this is being recorded. I'm going to listen to this all again. This is amazing brilliance. Just thank you so much, Marjorie. Barbara, you're up.
I'm going to take time to speak up for the almost 8 billion humans who are not second tier, who won't be anytime in the future. And, you know, I hear one of the problems in the United States is the attitude that they're nothing but deplorables, and we should just stamp them out, Marjorie. They're extinct. And it makes my skin crawl when I get that feeling from you. I'm also going to speak up for the left side of the spiral. I don't think, if you think in Bloom, you know, are we ready for diversity generators or conformity generators? And quite frankly, our problem right now is a bunch of conformity generators, you know, catalyzing incompatible mass formation. And maybe that's not where we're at. Maybe it's time for letting yellow take its place as well. And that means we can't get ahead of ourselves, right? I think one of the things that happened with green is it never had a chance to establish at a non-toxic level. We just popped into mean green without getting all of the things that green should have given as far as solving life conditions. So we need to be really careful not to get ahead of ourselves. And I'll also give you a piece of feedback. If you think about fields, there's a lot of resonance, right? But there are also people, and I think particularly folks that tend to be left side of the spiral folks, whose neural system is incompatible with we space. And I mean that literally. And then at the lower stages, there are a lot of folks who would be totally incompatible with we space. If I grabbed their face and did that, I'd be lucky to survive. And it's not that they're nasty people, it's that you are asking them to do something that's incompatible with their neural system. So I would love to see research, Tom, about how in the heck, because I think Sheldrake's probably right. People have morphic fields. Some folks just put up a literally, you know, shields around to prevent folks from doing that to them. But you know, we need to admit that we're not all the same, and we need to figure out how we bring people who don't naturally get into we space into community. without violating their neurology.
Barbara, I knew I could count on you for the other side of the argument. All right. Thank you, Barbara. I love it. I love the balance. And now let's go to Eric.
Yes, hello everyone. So, yeah, perhaps on this balance side, I want to take a little bit of my time just to be in silence here together and to come back to that entrainment that we were feeling in the exercise with Tom. Yeah, just loving just the feel of what just happened here. And, noticing how, being in these kinds of spaces for a while, that I feel that excitement and I've got a real strong yes and for all that I'm hearing in these shares. And I also just try to bring myself back to being careful about what I want to project as this beautiful space to come. That future is kind of a sticky kind of thing, and the mind wants to grab that and make some other place or time better than now. And for me, just to keep returning to, the beauty in this time. And yes, there are going to be challenges, and it can feel apocalyptic and ways, and that is where the beauty is, right here, right now. And the paradoxical I see, Taum, you're shaking your head, that there's this paradox here, and how to continue to reside in that as we go off into our flights of all the interesting things coming back to present. Thank you.
Boom. Eric, thank you. Thank you very much. All right, Paul, and then please, there's a few more people we haven't heard from at all. I would love to hear everyone today. This is green. We want to hear all the voices. Paul, you're up.
Well, I'm going to kind of come at this from the standpoint of, I think part of the era that we live in is the fact that humanity, the collective humanity, is impinging its reality on the individual human in ways that we've never seen. That the individual human has never been affected by the collective humanity the way it is now. And so I find it really hard well, I shouldn't say this. I'm going to look at this not from a human future, but humanity future. I'm not a prophet, so I kind of look at humanity in general as a mind-numbingly complex adaptive system. And it's really hard to predict in the midst of that. I kind of like what Nish said about how he balanced the quadrants, and I would agree that that's probably what those kinds of things will happen. I wouldn't rule out what Marjorie said about an evolutionary change of a new species. I don't, it's pretty hard to when 99% of the species that have ever been on the planet no longer exist. It's pretty hard to bet against evolution. And I guess the only prediction that I would make is that whatever this future humanity is, or humanity future is, I think out of that humanity is going to come probably a lot of gloriously positive stories. And there's probably going to come a lot of horrifyingly evil stories are going to come out of that. Beyond that, I don't really have I don't have a clue.
Paul, I love how you're very balanced again, bringing in a variety of different viewpoints and aspects. Thank you so much, Paul and Marie. Marie.
Um, mm. So this is very interesting inquiry to consider, to hold, to play with, to be curious about, to be present about what's here now. Our imagination for what the future may be. Mm. We know that this evolution takes a really very long time. That this change is slow and sometimes takes steps backwards. That part of our ability to be able to emerge into the new human is to make sure that we understand where we've come from. To be able to see the events that have happened in the past, to recognize the patterns, and to bring ourselves to an opportunity to make different decisions because we've learned. There's also, so there's the mind part of this, and being able to be with our mind and distinguish our mind, the level of self-awareness, etc. There's also, though, the body and its ability to evolve biophysiologically, to create new neural networks and pathways that give us the chance to be more steadied and centered across more contexts, where we can find peace and resonance. I'm kind of just letting this flow, by the way, so it's just whatever's coming to top of mind. I look for more yin, less yang, more of the being. More pets. Yeah, I bet. Yeah, thank you. Actually, I appreciate you bringing it up, because there's a appreciation for the sacredness of this life anyways, no matter what it is, and all the life that's around us. Anyway.
Marie, I just love how you always bring your animals in. I see your pictures on Facebook all the time with various pets, and Steve's cat was just sitting behind his head so sweetly. This is so
Yeah.
beautiful. Thank you so much, Marie. Again, I really appreciate, like, Eric slowed it down, Marie slowed it down. Some of us are talking like fast talkers, some of us are like, what about all the other side of the things? So I really appreciate all the different perspectives, and that's why I really like this group for bringing in a lot of voices and diverse opinions. It's really valuable for us all to open our mind. So we have just a few minutes left. We're going to end for sure at the top of the hour. At least that's what I'm leaving. Does anyone else, this is the last chance for telling us your future human. Maybe your future human is like, nope, we're here. This is it. Elena, come
You
on
got
back
it
up.
right. You got it right this time. I think the future human will have a different perception on life than the human that we have, as a majority of our consciousness right now. I think the reason for that is because more and more people start asking themselves questions that we have not ever asked before as a humanity, like, who am I? What's behind this physical existence? What motivates me in life? What inspires me in life? What impact my life has on others? I know a lot of people asking these questions. And again, our previous generations, even my parents' generations, never asked those questions. I didn't even ask those questions until I reached a certain age. And I think now the younger generations don't want to just accept the stupid rules that we have. And they asking those questions. They asking, tell me, why am I supposed to follow this rule? I want to know. And so this is this why I know we're going in a direction where we start becoming more aware, more conscious, and more mindful about our choices in life, our words, our thoughts, because we start understanding as we posing these questions out there, the answer is going to come to us explaining what impact all that has on life, not just our personal life, but life in general, life of all beings. Doesn't matter what they are, animals, humans, birds, whatever, trees, all beings. And I think that those answers, as they start coming into our mind, because we want to know, start generating a new perception on life, a new meaning on all things that we create. And because we put in new meanings into things, it's going to create new experience, emotional experience, and it's going to just shift the humanity, the consciousness, in a completely new direction. And yes, it's going to be obviously not overnight, but I think what we can do as some of the people who already have these questions, and a lot of us even have answers to those questions, is to be the beacon to others, that they can see from our life, our own choices, our own words, and our own thoughts, how that impact our own life. Because that's really the only preaching we can do. The words is meaningless unless they have some substance and physical appearance, and we had plenty of people in humanity, or plenty of stages in humanity when the words didn't match the actions, and it's kind of what put a lot of setbacks. But I think in the future it's going to be a really good, and excited. Whether we're going to leave it to see it in this body or next body, doesn't matter.
All right, Elena, thanks for sharing. That's great. So we have just about 9 minutes left. Does anybody, just want to say anything else, or summarize maybe something they've heard today? This is the final thoughts round.
Evolution is not done with us.
All right, Karen, thank you. Lorraine?
Hi, my technical skills are horrible. I apologize. I have heard from many people this morning, one of the things that very much resonates with me: the future human will not be doing this life alone. We will learn more and more how to do this together, how to really support each other in ways that help us move way beyond who we were as individual people. So yeah, thanks for bringing that up, because all of you who mentioned the collective and each other reminds me that that's really one of the goals, that we're better so that we can be together better as one, and then fix the world, because it's a mess.
Amazing. When I think about the future, I think it's a yes and. Yes, there's going to be more inequality. Yes, there's going to be modified humans walking around. Yes, bunches of people are going to be more evolved. Yes, probably a bunch of people will be less evolved. I just think it's a yes and. The long tail of every possibility is going to show up. Michael, we didn't hear
Hello.
from you yet. Talk to us.
Very well facilitated session, Bet. Very nice mixing of ideas, and Tom, really appreciated your presence I don't know if I would call it a presentation, but you're a good guy. Thank you.
Michael, tell us your future human, Mr. Agile. What do you think?
Who knows? I'm with Paul. We'll see.
There you go.
Lots of possibilities.
I really do believe that humans think we can predict the future, and I don't think we really can. I think that's an illusion. All right, we're in the final last moments. Maybe we can all just say one word. Speed rounds, just one word. If you want to just say one word, just go off mute and say it. Let's see if we can coordinate. We're all on the same level.
Resonance. Resonance.
Love.
Joy.
Psychedelics.
Eagerness.
Appreciation.
Thanks.
Intuition.
There's two at the same time.
Thanks.
Apocalyptimist.
Collaboration. Steve, you were going to say something?
Intuition.
Who has a sense?
Systemic. Systemic.
Systemic.
Presence.
I'm going to go for Barbara. Complicated. Barbara, tell us your word, Barbara. Busy. Josh, are you still around?
Yeah.
You have a word for the one last closing word?
No.
There you go. All right. Well, I hope you all come out and join us at Future Human. I submitted a talk.